So, hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm here today with Dilip Tanna. Dilip, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me, Sanj.
My,
How are you?
I'm great. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. And the pleasure is all mine. Your career has ranged from project manager to agile delivery manager to scrum master, and you're now a software engineering manager at Experian. And those are the topics we're going to be covering today. Maybe we can start with this question. When I was looking at your experience, I always kind of knew this about you that, you were kind of like almost made to be a manager. You really love this role, but you seem to have had every tech team management role there is possible besides tech lead. Now, what motivates you to go through all these roles? What's driving you?
If you ask me, one of the two or three most important things to me that really drives me and gets me up in the morning is helping others to develop and grow their careers and helping teams to grow. So actually, when you kind of look at those core values of mine, and then you look at the different roles, so you've got a Scrum Master role in there, being primarily a servant lead to the team, helping the team, and then in my engineering manager role, it's probably a very similar sort of mix in terms of I'm a servant leader to the team and folks individually, but except I've kind of got some line management responsibility that goes with that. And then in the agile delivery manager role, it was kind of a combination of those skills with a bit of project management, as you'll know. Um, so yeah, hopefully that kind of gives you a bit of insight into why those roles. I think having that varied experience and mix is also really, really useful. So having done just the pure Scrum Master role and getting my experience with that role, and then moving into a software engineering manager role, and previously doing straight up project manager role, I think they've all been really beneficial in terms of my own development, and I've enjoyed all of those experiences.
And help me understand some of the nuances or the sort of blurred lines between all these roles. Where is a engineering manager?
It's a great question, and I think a lot of it comes down to individually what do you want, but also what does your team want? And I actually think if you were a software engineering manager in 10 different organizations, you probably get a slightly different experience in each one because the organization is different, but also the people are different. Uh, and what I normally try and do is look at where I can help the team. That's an important part of my job. But I also look at how other people want to develop and grow their careers. And sometimes that may be a case of me saying, actually, you want to move into this area, which is, a particular responsibility of my role. But actually, in order to help you develop and grow, let's give you that opportunity. So, if we're looking at, managing budgets, for example, and, you're massively passionate about, seeing if you'd enjoy it, then actually let's give you an opportunity to manage a budget and, with me kind of behind you, supporting you.
Now, I know you have a fair few qualifications in this industry, like your Prince 2, and you've got like a Scrum Master qualifications. You've got a few more. Are these necessary to get into the industry? How useful are they in general?
So I'd say they're absolutely not needed to get in the industry, is my opinion. They are useful. So if you get the opportunity to pick up a qualification, I think it's always handy. But for me, you can learn some of this stuff, on the job, in terms of, some of the qualifications I got, such as the Scrum Master qualification, and I think the Kanban systems design one. I actually got those qualifications after I'd been doing the job for about 2 years. So it wasn't a necessity for me to kind of enter into the industry. Did I learn stuff on those courses? Absolutely. And they were useful courses. But I'd kind of recommend, to anyone, who's looking at a career as a Scrum Master to say, hey, just throw yourself in it, learn about Scrum, Kanban, all the different agile frameworks that are out there, or as many as you feel interested in. And then if you get the opportunity to qualification, do it. But for me, when I'm looking at experience and, what people want to do, a lot of that comes down to kind of attitude as opposed to, a piece of paper you've got that says you're certified.
And is there, uh, roughly speaking, a linear progression between these roles, or can you jump into one of them as a lateral move from somewhere else?
In my opinion, I think you could pretty much make a lateral move from any different direction. So you could be a developer and you want to go into a Scrum Master career, and that's absolutely an option. You can be a tester and move into a Scrum Master role. You could be, someone who's supporting our customers on the front line and transition into the role. Um, I'd pretty much say you could almost be doing anything. And if this is a particular passion of yours, you'd be able to transition into that Scrum Master role.
You're not a coder. You don't have a developer's background. I don't want to say you're not technical. I guess, coming from my point of view, you can appreciate when I say you're not really that technical, but from anyone else's point of view, you're extremely
Absolutely.
technical, right? Do you feel that lack of, those raw coding skills, does that have an impact? Does that hold you back in any way?
It's a really, really good question. I think depending on the type of software engineering manager you want to be, it can hold you back. So I'm a firm believer of kind of embracing your weaknesses, so to speak. So, one of my weaknesses, if you look at kind of, my role is I'm not technical, but I actually feel that can also be a strength of mine. So when I'm thinking about, giving the team autonomy in terms of, setting technical direction and how we solve problems, the team gets creative autonomy to do that. One, because I can't really do that, right? Because of kind of my lack of technical knowledge. But two, it also allows me to really over-index on some other areas which I'm massively passionate about, such as people development, coaching people, helping them develop their careers, supporting the product team on where the product's going, the product strategy, and all areas I feel massively passionate about.
Don't put yourself down, because I'm sure you'll remember we did actually pair on code on a hack day once upon a time, maybe about 4 years ago or something like that.
We did, but I think, wasn't it the day after that you handed in your notice or something?
Yeah, I was like, well, I've got nothing more to lose. Might as well pair with him. No, that's not the case at all. You were brilliant. Obviously, we're talking from like coming from, if you're coming from a very strict engineering background, sure, you could say someone like you is not technical. But like I said, you have an immense amount of knowledge, technical knowledge. You may not know how to write lines of code, but that's, not the most important thing in the world, is it?
Yeah, and depending on the role you're going for, I would always encourage anyone just to be upfront. So, you know, I'm very happy in my role today, but if I was ever looking to leave, I would be very open with, a prospective organization to say, these are the skills that I bring to the table, but also these are the skills that I definitely don't bring to the table. And if you're looking for someone who's heavily technical, that's just not me. And that's okay, because actually it just means we're just not a mutual fit. And having those conversations earlier on really take away any awkward conversations when you're maybe in the job.
I know you're very big on culture. How do you maintain a good culture when no one's in the office?
So I think, the pandemic has shifted lots of different things. I think there is one key element to recognize here, which is we're not working from home. We are working from home during a global pandemic. And actually, they're two very different things, right? Working from home, because you want to and you're able to is very different to almost being forced to work from home, whilst you've got the kind of anxiety and uncertainty of a global pandemic. I, what a lot of what we've done has been around supporting people. So actually making sure, people are supported both mentally and kind of, encouraging, like mental well-being and physical well-being. I think culture is an interesting one because I don't think you'll ever really keep the same culture that you had in the office. And that's just simply because you lose some elements of being in the office. And what it's really about is adapting yourself, adapting the team, and creating a bit of a new culture, or certainly a culture that's morphed off the culture that you had in the office. And again, there's not one single person who's responsible for this. It's a real team effort to ensure the culture is good, people are happy, people are enjoying what they do, people feel they're supported at home. Kind of a thing that we've tried, I think probably starting 4 or 5 months ago, is giving people the opportunity, if they want to take a 2 hour lunch. So in the winter months, you typically in the UK, so if you start work it's dark and you finish work when it's dark, and it meant most people were probably not getting very much sunlight. So we suggested as a team to just have a 2 hour lunch if you wanted to, which meant if you wanted to, you could go out for a walk or a run or whatever you wanted, and still have enough time to have a decent lunch break, and then you can make up the time whenever you see fit. And for me, a lot of that is just caring for people and caring for folks. And if you do that, then people are naturally going to be happier, more motivated at work, which is so important.
And you were very great on that piece. I mean, definitely, I felt like you were very invested and very caring in everyone under you,
Yeah,
almost sickeningly so.
I apologize. I think for me, it's one of the things that I will always try and live by. Throughout my career, through as me as a person, which is I deeply care about my people, so to speak, and I'll never lose that. And it's the thing that gets me up. It's the thing that I want to do. And again, it's also working out with people where that boundary lies, which is so important. Because for some folks, they say, Dilip, just leave me alone. I don't want to share that information with you, and that's absolutely fine. But for others, I'll support them, inside of work, but also on elements outside of work, whether they're moving house or they've got something going on in their personal life, and I'm just there to listen, basically.
You mentioned mental and physical well-being there. I know mental well-being definitely is one of your big standpoints. Um, is there anything special going on now that you're involved in? Because I know you used to be involved in quite a lot of mental well-being initiatives.
Mental well-being now is more important than ever before, and that almost feels a bit like a recurring theme that a lot of people have been saying this over the last 5 or 6 years. But with the pandemic, people have become very isolated. You've had some people, living and working at home for the best part of a year, and they haven't seen people for many months on end, and that can be a real challenge. So it's really important that we talk about these things. I personally, struggled with my mental health before. Will I probably struggle with it again in the future? Probably, but that's okay. And that's not something that we should shy away from. It's something that we should embrace. And I think if you look at the statistics, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think suicide is kind of the biggest killer in men under 45 or something, or between 35 and
Mm,
44, which is just a staggering statistic, right? And
mm, mm.
all of these people who are just not going to come back home, and families, friends have lost loved ones, and it's important that we talk about these things, and it's important that we say to people, look, if you're struggling, that's okay. If you want someone to talk to, I'm here for you. But also, it's not just me. There are a range of other support mechanisms out there, such as mental health charities that can support you. And just being open, candid, and vulnerable with people to say, actually, it's okay. You're not alone in this. You're struggling, it, but we're going to support you as much as we can to get you through it. And I think the best thing you can do if someone is struggling, if they want to, just listen, because a lot of the time, giving someone the opportunity just to let it out is the best outlet.
Is that why you agreed to come on this so you could help support me?
Well, Sanj, I didn't want to say it, but now that you've mentioned it,
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. So when I look back at one of the periods where we worked together, and you and my line manager, I don't think I gave you a very easy time. I think we were very close friends, but if I could have been a better person, how could I have supported you better?
So I wouldn't have changed anything if I'm honest. I'm a big advocate, and I really value kind of disruption. Essentially, and what I mean by disruption is people who challenge, right? Because for me, having you know people in a team who challenge, ask lots of questions is really, really important. Because if you lose that, you essentially get just a team who just all agree with each other, and actually sometimes that can be great, but also sometimes that it's not necessarily the right thing for the organization, where you want the folks in their team to be empowered to ask powerful questions, ask questions on the technical strategy, ask questions on the product strategy.
I want to ask you about promotions because you've been involved in a huge number of promotions. People in your team under you, whether that be anywhere from like junior dev to tech lead to UX to QA or whatever. Is there any advice you have for people who might be, in a similar position as you or following in your footsteps as to how to approach promotions right?
The most important question to ask yourself is what you want to do next. So, regardless of kind of the space you're in, whether that's engineering, UX, product, or any other discipline, what does that next role look like for you? And having those conversations with your line manager in an open manner, but also working with them to identify where the gaps may be. So, if you're a junior dev looking to take that next step up, working with your line manager to understand where you are today, because that's really, really important, but also to understand what are the elements that maybe you've not quite got yet that you need to get in order to take that next step. Um, and having those conversations is really, really important, because then one, your line manager has an understanding of, well, where do you want your career going, and that's really, really important. It's part of kind of healthy and collaborative one-to-ones. But also you then get an idea of, okay, these are the development areas that I really need to focus on in order to try and take that next step.
People say they learn a lot more from hearing about people's mistakes than they do their successes. Are there any big mistakes that come to mind that we could learn from now?
What I would say is, I think it's perfectly fine to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, and that's okay. I'm a big believer that failure is a good thing. It's not something to be shied away from. And am I going to make a bunch of mistakes over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Absolutely. And it's just something that's going to happen, because failure is a constant, right? And it's it's not something that you want to try and avoid, because I think if you try and avoid it's not necessarily the best sort of kind of mindset to have, which is, oh, I'm really scared of failing. We were working on a project many, many years ago, and I really tried to kind of focus on what we were doing, and almost very junior in my career, working on like committing to dates. Okay, we've got this date, we need to hit this date, and actually that wasn't really the right thing. And at the time I didn't know any better, but fixed date, fixed scope, fixed quality never tends to work really well, especially when scope is potentially changing, and that could put a lot of pressure on folks. And when I look back to that project, I look back and I think, wow, actually, I could have done a lot better, and I would have handled that a lot differently. When thinking about those things, I would have supported my team a lot better. I would have worked with folks to understand what scope could potentially give, and how important is quality to them, because in my opinion quality is really, really important, but it may not be as important to some other people on the project team.
And I assume to an extent it was communicating these issues or getting feedback and input from other peers of yours or people who were further up.
Just, I think we're all surrounded by support networks. It's just a case of taken advantage of those support networks sometimes. And, as I've kind of gone through my career and, probably with experience more than anything else, is that's an element I've really learned, which is you're not in this on your own. You're never on your own. You've got, amazing people around you who are there to help and support you. And, you want to really leverage those benefits because they've got great experience. They've probably been through very similar things, and actually leaning on them for advice and support can be super useful in terms of guiding, whether it's the next decision you take or just trying to sense check a decision that you made and was that really the right thing, and kind of taking a bit of a reflective view of those things.
So look, before I let you go, I need the joke of the show.
So this is probably the best joke you're ever going to hear, Sanj. I only know 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why.
Thanks, Dilip.
Just cut me off now. Just cut me off.
And that's all, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning in. For more info, for questions, comments, or feedback, please head on over to aheadintech.com and don't forget to subscribe.